our next conversation is going to be with Samantha Bozin. And hi, Samantha. So good to see you.
Yeah.
And can you tell me your role with The Life in a Vial?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was the writer and director for Life in a Vial.
Yes. Okay. And for those who haven't watched it, can you give like a brief synopsis and just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for context, I just graduated recently. So this was the first,
Yes.
you know, this was the first film that I've ever made. And it means so much to me because it kind of guided who I want to be as a filmmaker and what kind of messages I want to put out into the world, which is I want to send messages for social change and like giving a voice to underrepresented groups and topics. So the film itself is about a type 1 diabetic who cannot afford her insulin. And so she winds up in the hospital. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a really important film to me because I'm also a type 1 diabetic. I've had it my entire life. And insulin affordability is a huge issue in the United States, and it's a huge issue around the world. So I just wanted to put my voice out there. So the first half of the film is a dramatized version of what it would look like if someone couldn't afford their insulin and they wound up in the hospital. And then the second half is like a documentary style talkback with real people who are either type 1 diabetics or their doctors working in the world of diabetes. So it's just kind of like melding those two worlds together to see how this impacts people on a daily basis.
How expensive is insulin? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now in the United States, it costs nearly $400 per vial of insulin in the United States, and that's for 10 milliliters of insulin. So insulin is actually the sixth most expensive liquid in the world. That's like more expensive than like other medications. It's right behind Chanel like perfume. It's the most expensive. It's
Wow.
yeah, so it costs
Wow.
$9,400 per gallon.
So, and how much insulin? So that you said 10 milliliters,
Yeah.
and that's $400 for 10 milliliters. How much do you need on it per day?
So for me, I use about 6 vials, which is the 10 milliliters. So I use
Oh
about
my gosh.
a vial of those a month. So I'm spending between $2,000 and $3,000. Luckily for me, I have amazing insurance coverage. But the whole reason that I made this film is because I actually have a friend who I met in college who
Hmm.
they were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and they could not afford their insulin. So they started to ration their insulin. And insulin is a hormone that we as humans cannot live without. So if you don't take your insulin because you cannot make it, because your body's like, nope, I don't want to make insulin, you have diabetes. And so you have to use it externally. But if you can't afford it, then you die. And it's a huge problem in the United States, and it's a huge problem around the world. So I met this friend, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is something that I don't personally have to deal with because I'm very fortunate, but it's a huge issue. And so I wanted to use like my privilege to speak out about it.
I'm inspired. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I was really inspired. Wow. Can you tell me a little bit how people can get involved if they're also feeling inspired by your amazing story and work?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first of all, my film, we're donating all of the proceeds to helping people get access to affordable insulin. Um, so that's one way that you could get involved. But another way to get involved is to sign the petition on the American Diabetes Association's website, which is it's called makeinsulinaffordable.org. That is correct. Makeinsulinaffordable.org. And then there's also the Children's Diabetes Foundation. They have a program called The Helping Hand, which provides their patients with access to diabetes resources and affordable insulin, which is really awesome because so many people out there are rationing their insulin because they can't afford it. So I think
Wow.
two of the best ways to get involved, like signing petitions, even speaking about it, like posting about it on your social media, telling your friends, because I feel like so many people don't even know that this is going on in the world, and so many people don't realize it's an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I have two questions. One's a quick. So where did you graduate from, and what did you graduate in? Like, what did you study?
Yeah, so I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City, and I studied acting, and I studied filmmaking as well. So that's kind of like my goal in life is just to create art and to put myself out there. And I'm really just intrigued in creating stories that, like I told you, that make a difference in the world. So, like my next film that's actually debuting this October is about voter suppression and politics, and so that's what I'm doing right now.
And we need that so badly. So thank you a million times from me. And to follow up with that, what advice do you have for young filmmakers who want to create important films like the ones you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I would say just if you have something that you want to say and you feel like it's important for the world to hear, like the issue that you want to talk about, or like if it's like something that you really feel in your heart, you can do it. I mean, I didn't spend any money creating this film. I just wrote the script. I knew a bunch of people in New York City who are actors, and I was like, hey guys, this is a huge passion project for me. Let's turn my tiny apartment in New York City into a hospital room. And we did it. And I feel like if you put your mind to something and you have like a good cause behind it, it will come to fruition the way that you want it to come to.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so we're gonna say anything else?
No, I think that's it. I think like make the films, put your voice out there because it's so important. And I think right now we're at a place where, especially in the United States right now, with the election happening and with how the pandemic has allowed people to really like take the time to like learn, sit down, you have nothing to do. Okay, let me get educated on all these different topics, healthcare, racism, everything. I think just taking the time to like get to learn about these subjects and putting your voice into actions is that's the most important thing to do.
Voice into action.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that completely. And curiosity. That's what I hear too.
Absolutely.
Um, what do you think so few people know about insulin and the industry? Or why do you think so few people know about it?
I think it really doesn't affect anyone except for diabetics. That being said, I think my film speaks more to medication affordability in the United States. It's not just insulin. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
passionate about the insulin part of that because it's so expensive and it's a huge issue. But I think the theme of my film can be more broad. It's so many people live with autoimmune diseases where they have to take really expensive medications every single day. I have a friend who she has like several autoimmune diseases, and she was told by her insurance company that she has to pay $45,000 for her medicine. And so I think this is a problem that like can be like through my film seen on a broader scale. And I think people don't know about it if it doesn't affect them, but we need to encourage people to care more about things that may not affect them, but it could affect their neighbor, or it could one day down the road affect them as well, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's, for me, it's like, I think it's a huge issue in the United States. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. But that being said, it's a huge issue around the world as well. And I think it's about not only affordability but accessibility, and that's an issue in other countries too. So I think
Mm-hmm.
just further educating people on issues that they don't know about. And for me, since I am a type 1 and I do have to take insulin to live every day,
Yeah.
any chance I get to tell people about this, I do, because
Yeah.
like I think it really opens people's eyes to something that they like have been living their whole lives not even realizing.
Your voice is so impactful. Like they can't say no, you don't. Like, yeah, this is something I'm experiencing like firsthand, and like I'm gonna tell you about it, and that's really powerful. And like to follow up on what you're saying, why do you think so many like everyday people, just average American, let's say, are opposed to the Affordable Care Act and healthcare reform?
Yeah. Oh man. Whew.
I know.
I've been listening to a lot of what the other people have been saying, and I think they touch on a lot of really good points. I think I feel like if something doesn't affect them, it like isn't in the forefront of their mind. I know a lot of people don't live with pre-existing conditions, and so they don't really care. And I think
Mm.
I think we need to come from a more like community-based standpoint, uh,
Hmm.
community care, and I think like having universal health care is so important because especially with insulin affordability, like right now it's affecting people with COVID so hard because the
Yeah.
insulin prices are continuing to rise. They've gone up 3 times the amount since 2002. So they're currently at $400 per that vial, and people are becoming more and more uninsured because of COVID, and so they can't afford their medication that they literally cannot live without, and they're dying. They're rationing their insulin. They're getting like um, kind of diluted versions from Walmart that they end up getting really sick from, and
Oh,
it's a huge issue. And I
yeah.
think um, you know insulin, when it was invented, like synthetic insulin I should say, when it was discovered by Frederick Banting, it was sold for $1 because he said this is a universal right. And I think healthcare is a universal right, and I think that's something that a lot of people agree with, but I think it's something we need to continue to push and we need to continue to strive for because like insulin affordability is important, medication affordability is important, being having access to healthcare, mental health, physical health, that's all just a human right. And that my shirt says insulin is a human right. Like that's our slogan. So
Yes.
yeah,
So with us, we've had Samantha Bozin, director Samantha Bozin. Did I say your last name right?
thank you.
Wonderful. I like to check. So with her film Life in a Vial, her is it her I think at Fentress Films. Am I saying that right?
They added an extra R, but yeah.
Oh, got you. Okay, okay. So I just want to thank you so much for allowing us to include your action opportunities in your film and all of your thoughts about this something you're going through. Just not even your thoughts, just sharing your personal experience and your passion with us. And my final question is just your thoughts on Changefest and any last things you'd like to say.
Yeah, this has been such a wonderful experience. The whole reason that I am creating films like this are to put them in film festivals that are about social change and to further educate people on these subjects. And I think Change Fest does a wonderful job of getting everybody's message out there. And it's not just a film festival that's like fun and like, oh, here's our film, but it's like here are action points where like you can actually do something after you watch the film. And I think it's really inspiring, both for me to like get my work out there, but also to learn from all of the other filmmakers. So thank you so much to everyone.
You're you're so wonderful to talk to. Yeah. So again, this was director Samantha Bozin with her film Life in a Vial. So thank you so much again for being here.
It was lovely to meet you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.